Hello, my name is Alberto and I'm developing a 3D game using my own game engine. About a month ago, I decided to move from the initial idea of making a puzzle game to a more stealth-based game. I focused on setting up the core gameplay mechanics and creating a small level to play and test them. After being satisfied with it, I decided to make a first iteration on the graphics. Here, I show you how the level looked like during the blockout phase. This is a quick way of testing and improving your game mechanics. After working on all the new assets, this is how the level looks like in the editor. I decided to use a texture like this for all assets in-game. This will allow me to adjust the color palette in later stages of the development, but it is also interesting to improve the performance of the rendering. All static assets can be rendered in a single draw call by using the same texture image. Let's take a look to the final result in-game. As you can see, there are many differences from the editor view. In-game, there is a post-processing effect which handles emission of the material, and also there is a transparency effect on the walls. I can adjust the emission of the material by color and intensity of the color. This way, I could make only the blue parts emissive. In my opinion, the graphics have a big impact on the game experience, and this is why it's important to work on them in the early stages. After upgrading the visuals, I made some changes in the game mechanics and also realized some issues, for instance with the fields of view, that need to be fixed. I have also designed some areas of the level in a different way, making use of the shape of the new assets. It is actually very fun to have to hide behind chairs or under the tables instead of regular cubicle shapes. When I was placing the new assets, I have realized how important it is for this type of game to make clear for the player which assets are meant for you to hide and which others are just for visual purposes. Besides, the level should not be very crowded in terms of assets. The path must be clear and the hiding areas as well. I wanted to explain you a bit in detail how the player collision and detection works, which is one of the core mechanics of the game. The player can be standing and walking normal, or crouched and crawling around the level, and this has a big impact on the game mechanics. When the player is standing, can walk faster, but is more visible for the enemies and cannot access all areas in the level. On the other hand, when the player is crawling, is less visible for the enemies and can go under different parts of the level. Behind the scenes, this is all a matter of changing the size and position of the colliders for the player. When the player is crawling, the collider becomes smaller and that allows the player to go underneath smaller assets. In the same way, the vision of the enemy relies on the collision with the obstacles and the player collider. Therefore, having a smaller collider allows the player to hide behind obstacles. Since this mechanic is crucial for the gameplay, I'm considering to implement a covering system which would make the collider narrower in width. This could allow the player to hide from enemy vision, but also to create an extra dimension for the player movement restriction. Another important aspect of the game is to have a good overview of the level. This is why I implemented the possibility to zoom in and zoom out. You can also rotate the camera 360 degrees, and the walls are transparent to make sure that the player is always visible. I am still considering the possibility to leave a free camera view for the player. Overall, I'm satisfied with the visual upgrade and I can continue working on the gameplay. There are also many visual aspects that need to be improved. For instance, the fields of view show many artifacts that should not be there. On the other hand, I have some issues with the lighting, showing a big white spot appearing in the middle of the level. You probably spotted that. Another important feature of the game is the use of distraction on the enemies. As you can see, we can make use of items to distract or make the enemies incapable for a period of time so that we can pass through. Currently, there are two systems implemented. One of them is a noise effect which has a larger radius. than the other one, which is a stun effect. How does this work? When the player throws the item and the item hits a ground or an enemy, it will produce these two attacks, to say it in a way. Each of them will have a different effect, and if an enemy is within the radius of effect, this will be applied on it. This means that we can use this item to just distract the enemy by producing a noise nearby, or if we hit the enemy, it will be also affected by the stun. It is important to note that the player also produces a noise effect when walking, and this is why it's important to be crawling nearby enemies. But honestly, what is most important now is to improve the gameplay experience, and the movement of the player is crucial in this type of game. This is why this is going to be my main focus in the coming weeks. And this is it for the video of today. I hope you all enjoyed and hope to see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.